Tess Taylor is going to come up. And this is our sommelier, Christopher Sawyer. He's going to be telling you all about the wine and what you should expect from it and how it all works. And Tess is going to come up and talk a little bit about how this event got started and introduce the first poet. Tess, do you want to start? Hello, Litquake. Okay, so I want to, those of you that are standing, I feel like we had reserved this side for poets, and the poets are unruly, so they sat on that side. So I wanted to liberate some of these seats for you all that are standing. Don't stampede or anything. But it just seems silly to have like seats in the front that aren't taken. And if people could just, generally housekeeping kind of find their way to, if there is a seat for them. One more announcement. The glasses are on rental. If you take them home, we'll have to pay for them. So please don't put them in your purse and take them home. I was informed by the hotel that was going to be maybe a problem. So just to let you know, sorry, they're not a souvenir. You just have to enjoy yourself and take pictures. Okay. So we're in the second year of Flight of Poets. Could I just have a show of hands of who was here last year? Awesome. And you came back. Thank you. So we're hoping to make this an annual event, and we're so happy that there are 90 of you here. Woo! This summer I had the absolute privilege of being in the south of France. I was in a tiny little town that is kind of like, a fairy tale, a town called Gigondas, which is at the edge of the Côte d'Aron, and it's one of those kinds of fancy towns in France where the entire town spirals up to a monastery, and the monastery is the top of a hill. And in this town, where they've been making wine since the time of the Romans, they had decided to, the buildings were all medieval, they decided to pair the wine with kind of visiting artists and sculptors. And so while I was there, I had the chance to have this conversation in French, which was kind of fun, about why would they do that? Why would they pair sculpture and wine in the middle of this sort of medieval French village? And the woman that I had the pleasure of talking to said, "Pour explorer la correspondance entre du vin et le poésie," to explore the correspondence between art and poetry. And correspondence in French is an interesting word because, it has multiple meanings, and it sort of means, you could use it for catching your plane. Like, did you make your connection? Did you make that connection between art and poetry? But it also means likeness, and in its sort of another deeper meaning, it means like the synesthesia. So, did you catch the synesthesia between the art and the wine? And so I think that what's great about this event is that we are trying to allow people to explore what's great about wine and what's great about poetry in a way that kind of lets you examine the correspondence between your senses. And we had so much fun doing that last year. Christopher, who's the sommelier, who's going to come up and speak to you, has been the sommelier for the Gorbachev family, the Getty family, and the sommelier for the Napa Valley Film Festival. And his specialty is like taking those sensations beyond food, even beyond film, and helping us to just sort of cross our senses. So welcome, Christopher.
Thank you.
Welcome to this event. He's going to tell you exactly how this tasting is going to go. And thanks again for all of those of you who've come back for a second year.
Woo. Well, welcome everyone. I'm really excited about this year's event. Last year was such a complete success that we had to do it again. We were even thinking about doing the New York Litquake too, but guess what? They just do, it's pretty much you just go bar hopping in New York, and so it's not really that formal like it is here. We have real events here. You know, I guess we're more grown up than New York. Last year's event was such a smashing success. The poets were fantastic, and I think that really when it got going, people understood what we're really doing here. When you read a great poem, or you've got a book of poetry open, and you're having these imaginary things happen inside your mouth, or your head, Did you guys already get poured? You know, you think about all these things that are happening there, just these images and images. But the same thing's true with wine. You're drinking wine, but what does it taste like? What are you feeling from this wine? What's the flavor profile? What's the level of acidity? Is it tannic? Is it big? Is it just bold and it's hard to drink? Or is it perfect? And that's what I always look for, is the perfect wines. And I will say one thing about last year's event. Of the great poets that we had, and we've got a number of them here, some wonderful people in the audience that are wonderful. But, you know, 3 of those poets got together after the event, because I gave them all a bottle of wine, the ones that I talked about with them, and they ended up having a dinner party together. 3 different poets each brought their bottles of wine together, and they had a great party together. And that's the whole idea about this, is just having a good time. Poetry is fun. Sometimes it's very, very deep, and it can really, you can start crying easily from good poetry. It's easy, and that's why poetry is so great. It's just using words. And in wine country, we do the same thing. I'm a native of California, and especially Sonoma County, where I was born and raised. And we really are very lucky here in San Francisco and the North Bay just to have one of the greatest wine-growing regions of the world. So I just thought I'd bring some of the most amazing wines with me and pair them up with great poets tonight. And you guys are going to be taking this in firsthand. So the logistics of tonight is obviously you've been poured your first wine, and we're going to talk about the poet and why I did the pairing in a minute. But once the first poet is finished, when we're doing the introduction for the second poet, we're going to come around. The great volunteer team that I've got in the back is going to come around and start pouring the second wine. So either finish the wine, or we will have dump buckets in case you want to dump it out. I brought the good stuff, you guys, though. I don't know. But I understand. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be each one of these poets. I really had a wonderful time reading their works and doing these amazing pairings with them. Besides what I've done with food, I'm very well known for my movie and wine pairings. They've done stories on me in Redbook and Esquire and different publications. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm getting a lot of feedback, but that's okay. I'll put a smile on my face, yeah. But without any further ado, we'd love to introduce the first wonderful poet.